There are often tempting deals on the newest Surface Pro, but usually on the lowest spec configuration with the Core M CPU. So naturally, a lot of people will ask if that's really enough for day-to-day tasks. I had the same question, but I pulled the trigger. So, hey, I'm Brian, and I can answer that for you. Before I go into performance, I quickly want to touch on the hardware you get on the Surface. After all, why should you settle for these specs at this price if you don't get any other benefits in return? The Surface Pro of course has stunning build quality. The magnesium chassis is light and feels great in the hand. This is a completely new device, so it doesn't have any scratches, but I know from past experience that it unfortunately scratches very easily. The kickstand is still best in class, with the unlimited levels of adjustment while still being sturdy, which is also why you can more easily use it on your lap than if it was just a tablet in a keyboard case. Speaking of the keyboard, the type cover with its ability to be propped up at an angle is actually a very good keyboard with enough travel, and below it you also have a surprisingly large trackpad that is also super precise. If you don't want to use that trackpad though, you still have the touchscreen as an alternative. The 2736 by 1824 IPS screen is super sharp at 12.3 inches, and colors and brightness also leave nothing to be desired. I'm also a fan of the taller 3:2 aspect ratio that makes work much easier. And the pen, of course, the pen. The Surface has always been the best device for pen support on the Windows side. I say this because I think Apple still does it a bit better, but for all intents and purposes, pressure sensitivity and palm rejection are so good that you can basically use this to replace your notepad. This is of course also thanks to the powerful software. Windows 10 theoretically enables you to do everything you could also do on a fully fledged PC. You have full access to the file system, very much in contrary to the iPad Pro, so you can just plug in an SD card or a thumb drive into the USB port and make use of it. I wish though that they would finally change out that mini display port next to the USB port for USB-C. Please, Microsoft. Apart from this, having the full Adobe suite at your fingertips in such a compact device is also awesome. But again, theoretically. This is where we finally come to the question we all want to have answered. Can the Core M paired with 4GB of RAM really keep up with day-to-day tasks? And the answer is yes, if you have the right expectations. It's no problem to have Chrome open with 5 tabs and a document in Photoshop at the same time. You just might have to wait 1 or 2 seconds when switching between apps, and installing programs also takes a bit longer. And within Photoshop, as long as you don't have super complicated files, it's a really fine and smooth experience. Same goes for editing photos in Lightroom. And browsing the web, watching video with the great speakers on the amazing display, using Word or apps from the store is obviously fine as well. So for the work you would do on the go, or I guess the work you can realistically expect to get out of any €650 device, the price paid for this, it's totally up to the task. And for the money you save, you even get very great battery life in return. You just have to know that you can't start to open Premiere or After Effects on here and expect to have a good time, but I don't think anybody had that expectation anyway. So in a nutshell, if you see a good deal on the Core M version of the Surface Pro, go ahead. It's not slow at the tasks it can do, so it's not a bad experience or anything, as long as you don't start doing anything more than the things I just mentioned. This makes it pretty perfect as a family computer or as a device to take to classes. What I think is an interesting observation in the case of the Surface Pro though, even with a little higher spec configuration that makes things a bit more fluid, is a pretty stark contrast to the iPad Pro. You have these two devices with perfect hardware, one with super fast internals that is held back by software, and one with potent software that is held back by its performance. Can't we just have something that isn't crippled by either? If you enjoyed this video, you know which buttons to press, and don't forget to press that follow button on Twitter. I'm Brian, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.